I think there's going to be so many people just their driving will be saved by this driver.
Totally.
I believe that's a big statement, but I really believe it to be true. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. The much anticipated breakdown of the new G440 driver lineup, Michael.
Yeah.
We have three.
Three. We have LST, Max, SFT.
No 10K.
No.
430 10K continues on.
Yeah.
So may expect to see that one some point down the line, but it was a fresh addition to the line last year, so not expecting to see that one in the near future.
Yeah,
Let's
makes
just
sense.
put it that way. Why don't we start at the Max? Because I'm pretty excited about talking about the one I'm holding right here. You've got the Max and the LST. I've got the SFT. Why don't we get into the Max?
Yeah, Max. I mean, obviously core model. This has fit such a wide range of clients for us. Every time I fit someone into this driver, I always think to myself, why am I not playing a G440 or G430 Max? This thing, obviously with the color scheme, looks great. Really clean top line. Impressive to see how this is going to perform.
Yeah, and I think if we take what was in the 10K last year, G430 10K last year, a 28 gram weight fixed in one position that obviously increased the MOI to make it ultimately stable.
Yeah.
This Max now has a 29 gram weight. It is a slightly modified shape. From what we've read, it's a little bit smaller than last year's G430. The LST has remained the same, and actually the SFT has gotten a little bit larger in its footprint. This tells me that the Max has become more sort of forgiving, more faster. You know, we know more weight equals faster, but it's just become a more rounded head. And we had already given this one ultimate props last year for being so good. Movable CG shifter in there. It kind of does everything you'd want it to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm impressed with this one. The LST, from address position right away, it's nice that this doesn't fly open, doesn't stay, too open for the player. They look very similar at address, which I like.
In that player position now, they do look really, really similar. I think with this staying the same size, this one coming down a little bit in size, I do think they've gotten a little bit closer together, which I think pushes more people towards the Max.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if you're in that playing position, when you look at the crown, obviously they all now have carbon fly. It's not just the LST that kind of needed the weight savings. They've all utilized the weight savings of carbon fly, but it's much less busy. You still get the turbulators. You can see where the sort of carbon fly kicks in, where that seam happens, but it doesn't have the same sort of texture and alignment aids on top. And to me, it's a much more clean visual looking down on it.
I agree.
Okay, this is the one.
Finally.
Okay, you two can step aside. 9-degree SFT is something that I think has been really kind of needed in the lineup, because ultimately the SFT has historically been the #1 driver for players who have a right miss. Anyone with a fade that kind of really can't do much about it, this can. So we could always correct the flight, but we just sometimes couldn't manage the dynamic loft. Knowing that a player who slices it has an out-to-in path, keeps the face a bit open in order to keep on the target line. The open club face adds to the dynamic loft being up, and often the attack angle being down. From a spin loft perspective, that's where we get into the sort of deflected blow, lose some ball speed, add some spin, not ideal. Coming down to a 9-degree that has a draw and a draw plus weight position, and obviously the loft, we can go down as much as 7.5 degrees.
So good. For a fitter, I mean, you've talked about it a lot. A lot of our fitters have always asked for something in that lower loft, like you said, to just cure that spin. I'm excited to see how that performs.
I am too. I really am. I think there's going to be so many people just their driving will be saved by this driver. I believe that's a big statement, but I really believe it to be true, especially with the different shaft lengths as well. As we get deep into sort of the intricacies of the changes with the G440 line, they are now saving a little bit of weight in the head, 3 grams lighter. Proving grounds, Ping do a lot of their own research at the headquarters in Phoenix, and one thing they've found is that players can handle a little bit longer shaft and benefit from that. So in order to offset a little bit extra length where they can gain some speed and it doesn't have any downside to the inconsistency or it doesn't affect the ball flight at all. They've needed to go a little bit lighter on the head weight to offset the little bit longer.
That's good.
Yeah, so the standard Alta shaft is now at 46 inches. In any of their aftermarket, sort of call it just the upgrades, they're at 45 and a half.
Love it.
Right, so a little bit longer this year, which I think is great. Why don't we pop a few out there with this new SFT?
Let's do it. Okay, Fries, we're going to start with SFT.
Yep.
9-degree. Hosel setting a little lower.
Yeah, I'm going to turn down a little bit. We want to try and keep that dynamic loft in check. See if we can get some nice drives. You know, hopefully, I'm going to try and set this thing down the right-hand side. See if we can get it turning back, be a wee bit more one-dimensional. So let's see what we get.
Good strike.
Good strike. Yeah, nice. I like that a lot. I mean, it wants to turn over, doesn't it? It's desperate. I mean, kind of like, I feel like I'm hitting that same part in that wall.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep going. I mean, we've got this on the draw plus setting, so we can take a bit of that away if we want to.
Yep.
Right, and that's a really neutral delivery. Let's give it something that's going to challenge it with a bit more cut.
Okay.
That's almost 10 degrees across it. It doesn't want to go.
No.
Doesn't want to go right. 9.7 out to in.
Wow. And something that doesn't want to spin at high threes.
Correct. So it's going to really counter that spin to the right. It's
nice to see.
Fantastic. So if we go to the compare page a second, just we sort of look at the balls ended up in the same spot, right? They're really over there, exactly in that same end result.
Yeah.
So whether it starts right, so you know, obviously, like if you look about a quarter of the way down that flight.
Yeah.
The first two are obviously starting right and then turning over. The next two are starting more left and just staying, you know, pretty much on that line. So whether you're that player, neutral player who slices it, whether you're an out-to-in player who slices it, it's giving you the exact same
100%.
Exact same result.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good. Maintaining that nice apex around 120. It's not giving you the, I mean, I struggle with these drivers not peaking at 140 feet, to be honest. I'm always in that, you know, really, really high-end bracket. It's really impressive.
That's a nice strike. I like that flight.
Just so straight. I've missed that a good bit in the toe, to be honest. So I've lost a little bit of ball speed.
But I think showing what this driver can do on maybe thin or a little toey, you get away with it.
Yeah. Felt really centered.
Yeah, the first bunch of swings, I'll tell you, the driver sounds really good.
Good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a real crack to it.
That one there, a little out to in, 3,000 spin, 130 feet in the air, and plenty of speed, plenty of distance.
Excited about that one. Really am.
Yeah, lower loft draw driver.
Yeah. Just that right side of the golf course eliminator.
Yeah.
And we can see there, if we kind of go into the club page on the compare, this is, I think, why club fitters were crying out for the lower loft, because with those conditions of path, hitting up on it a little bit, dynamic loft tends to come out a little bit more and you can end up that higher sort of dynamic loft. We need to offset that. This is 9 degrees turned down to 7.5. So, you know, we definitely need it to, if we go to the ball data, if we're going to retain decent ball speed, efficiency at 145, really good ball speed, 157.5, with good launch and spin. I mean,
really good.
Taking that all day.
Impressive. Okay, for us, core model G440 Max. SFT sounded really good. I mean, it obviously looks great. For as good as the driver sounds, I just think this will be even more popular for the fittings for G440.
Yeah, it's so clean. It is so clean now. I mean, turbulators are a given. We don't even really care, to be honest. We don't even really see that anymore, or sort of, it's not something we certainly have any objection to whatsoever. I actually think it frames the alignment of the ball position really nicely. It kind of points you in, making sure you don't get too sort of far either side of that, which you know, I think is a really nice advantage. It looks great. It does look a bit more compact.
Good.
I absolutely think so. Good flight. It wasn't the best strike in the world.
Got away with it.
Yeah. Okay, not bad. Dynamic loft in a better spot, which is good.
How'd you strike that one?
A little on the toe.
The flight looked good.
It was a good combination. Slightly toey with a little open face. Just living in that same place. It's not awful.
Wasn't a bad. I thought it was pretty good.
I didn't know. I'm just like not quite getting through it. Good.
Yeah, really nice.
I mean, for whatever reason, I'm just catching them a little bit low in the head and a wee bit toey, I suppose, as well. Yeah, in that low toe quadrant. Yeah, reasonably solid, Mikey. Not my best work, but it was okay.
Yep, got a lot out of it for where you're striking it.
Okay, Mikey, last but not least.
LST, one of, again, a popular driver for us, lower spinning driver. Generally for the faster, swing speed player, but I think with, like you said, with the shapes kind of starting to get closer and closer together, I think you're going to have a fine line now between an LST and maybe a Max player, which is good. I think having the LST more approachable for some people that need it, I mean, myself included, would be a good option.
I can't think, obviously people will think about it like draw, SFT, straight flight technology, and that's the highest one, and the mid and then the lower one. I can almost think like more fade bias, neutral bias, draw bias. Like there's lateral as well as there's vertical implications to moving center of gravity. So yeah, I would definitely think this will come out with the lowest launch angle. I've typically saw Ping steer on the side of like stable low swing, not ultra low swing. Some companies have kind of went ultra low in the past, and it kind of tends to, they're a little bit kind of magic or tragic, all or nothing in their ball flight. So I think they'll be a little bit more protective on spin. What was the numbers in the Max? So there's that kind of neutral pattern, 12.7, spin came down a little bit.
Yep.
We picked up 16 yards of carry. Yeah, all pretty good gains.
Really good.
Okay, let's see what we get with this one. I think that's where you start to see the difference with an LST.
Yeah, that's a nice flight.
It just comes out.
A little bit more penetrating.
Yeah, a little bit stronger, gets the speed up a little bit more dynamic loft management for the player.
Good speed too.
Yeah, a bit quicker. And that's where I think, like I said, I think Ping do a nice job of the low spin head is never in a too low of a window.
Yeah.
It's lower, but it's not gonna deviate from making your spin axis unstable.
Yeah, you're not getting the real knuckler out of this.
No.
Sounded like a better strike.
Yeah, it was. Up the head a little bit. Felt like the best swing.
Sounded better.
Yeah, it was a better. One more.
Okay, for us, 440 SFT. one we started with. I mean, it did what it's meant to do, and that's go left. But the thing for you is there was a couple there where you started them maybe a fraction right or dead straight, and they just drifted over. So there's still plenty of play in them. It spun a little bit more, but like you said, you hit one earlier that was like 9 out to in. And
yeah, like
and
I tried to be
spin-
like mass swing in the neutral versus like the person who's intended to be, which is a bit more slicey, just to show that even as you get way across it, you're not really going to get the penalty of being way across it.
Yeah.
Which is great.
No, it's really good. 440 Max, I mean, no surprises, did what it's supposed to do. It was nice and straight for you, and launch came down a little bit, spin came down a little bit, and ball speed went up. Really, really nice. Thoughts on Max?
Yeah, I mean, the Max is always going to, I think, be the favorite for most people. I think you could probably, of the average golfer that comes into a fitting shop, I think you're probably putting like 65%, 70% maybe even into Max. And obviously SFT, there'll be some people who really need it to get into that, and then you'll be LST, probably same thing, but Max is so versatile. And you can kind of see that by the sort of launch and spin. Like, it still gets up, it doesn't spin high, it's really stable, it's great on speed, and the flight, it's really, really neutral on flight as well.
Yeah, no, and then LST, speed came up a little bit, again, spin went down, launch came down a little bit, but I mean, you get that. There were some flights, that lower flight, again, more penetrating flight, it had a chance to run as soon as it hit the ground. Yeah,
I mean, this would be the one that I would fit into, I think, most easily. For me, the magic number on dynamic loft's always about 17, so that's why today that one was really good. The kind of a bit of an anomaly for me today was being a little out to in with the path. I'm never normally there, but for whatever reason, that's what we got today. And a little jump in ball speed.
Yeah.
So that's just additional pressure from the loft being, not as high. Even though statically they were the same between the Max and LST, it just shows you when you put the center of gravity a little closer to the head, you do not tilt the head as much in motion. You don't get as much of that sort of lead deflection, sort of adding dynamic loft to the head itself. So, I mean, I could play that one, no issues at all. I mean, some of the misses it let me away with. I mean,
some nice flights out of them.
Yeah,
really good.
You're really dodging jail time with some of those swings I was making, and the results were damn good.
Definitely.
Okay, guys, so there's the family: SFT, Max, LST. As we said, 10K continues on in its own right in the 430 line. We are going to then sort of go into a test video between the 430 line versus the 440. I want to see head to head, what do the differences look like? If, the same player today, where are the pickups?
Yeah.
What is that likely to be? So I think that's the one I'm really intrigued about, because G430 was thought upon as just being sort of a complete juggernaut of a line. And I think 440 deserves its opportunity to show where those little subtle tweaks, more than just the aesthetics. I think that's the shelf appeal one, and when people put it down and look at it, it'll be quite easy to pick out, wow, look how much more clean it looks. That's great, but when it comes to actual performance, that's where we're going to live and die.
Totally. I feel like the LST 440 already, a little bit quicker, but we'll see in the comparison video. But I mean, 440 woods are impressive. Very, very impressive.
Without a doubt. Okay, on to the test video next, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, a little bit more of an overview of the whole family, some of the benefits of the new models, the new features and functionality. Let us know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you again soon.